contact, breaking the human chain of dominoes, and thus we coined a new word, social distancing. So government of Sindh followed the universally adopted approach to address this virus. Steps were taken as soon as its first case surfaced on 26th of February 2020, and schools were immediately closed to protect our children. We moved towards closing down all places where people could gather, and a lockdown was imposed on 23rd of March 2020. This continues to be enforced in one way or the other throughout the country. So as soon as we imposed the lockdown, other provinces followed suit, and the entire country imposed a lockdown. Sir, I would like to mention that in the entire world, two different approaches were used. One, what I call the capitalist approach, which talked about quote, daily wages, but in their mind, they had the interest of the capitalist, of the industrialist. Second was the humanist approach, which made COVID-19 a priority. And we are glad that in this province of Sindh, we initiated this. So the countries which use capitalist approach, United States, the United Kingdom, Brazil, Italy, Spain, and to some extent Pakistan, have suffered due to COVID. So whereas the countries which looked at the humanist approach, which cared for the lives of the people, they have successfully, at least initially, combated the virus. I am talking about China, Greece, Australia, Taiwan, and New Zealand. So New Zealand has successfully countered the COVID virus. They have defeated Corona. But so we need not worry, because in 1992, Pakistan beat New Zealand in the World Cup, and we are still rejoicing that. And unfortunately, we are still suffering because of that. Sir, the government of Sindh did not rely on the lockdown alone. We diverted our resources towards providing better health facilities and towards supporting the common man facing a potential meltdown as the economy came to a near standstill as a result of an imminent national lockdown. Sir, I would like to highlight some of the major steps taken by government of Sindh. We created a coronavirus emergency fund with an initial outlay of ₹3 billion. Initially, ₹1.3 billion was contributed from the government of Sindh and around ₹1 billion from the employees of the government of Sindh. Provision of money is monitored and approved by a committee headed by the Chief Secretary Sindh. The committee has strong representation from the private sector for ensuring transparency as well as neutrality in the processes. We hired one of the top 4 audit firms which has already submitted its first report. So we didn't forget our health professionals. A high-risk allowance comprising of one basic salary in relevant pay scale has been allowed initially to the health personnel who are performing duties related to COVID-19 patients in the health institutions of laboratories. This risk allowance is being extended to all health facilities. Post-graduate house job officers will also be paid initial basic pay of BPS 18 and 17 respectively with effect from March 2020 till subsiding of COVID-19 pandemic. So it is estimated that ₹1 billion will be spent on the health risk allowance in the next financial year 2020-21. So we did not stand idle. When slide 1 when we first started, you will see it in a little while on the screens. We had a capacity of only 80 tests per day. cases per million. Pakistan is at 4,068. Sir, if you look at the other countries, we have even beaten India. The province of Sindh has beaten India, which otherwise has 4,186 tests per million, but we have 6,881 tests per million. Off कर दे इसको. Off कर दे इसको. Sir, to cope with the extraordinary situation arising out of COVID-19, health sector being the frontline service provider, expeditiously initiated steps to make necessary arrangements to avoid a big human disaster. 81 isolation centers in all districts with 8,266 bed capacity were established. By June 2020, this capacity will increase to 8,660 for ensuring timely supplies and proper service delivery. Government of Sindh constituted medical procurement committees. The committee procured personal protection equipment, laboratory items and equipment and other essential machinery, equipment and instruments worth 2.43 billion, which include expenditure of rupees 1.5 billion under the Corona Emergency Fund and 891.8 million from PDMA funds. In addition, the existing ventilators, 101 more ventilators were procured on need basis for public health sector facilities with 250 monitors to ensure timely availability of life-saving services to critical patients. Sir, I would like to tell you how we've improved the health facilities since the coronavirus, the first case of coronavirus occurred. Sir, if you look at the screen above, when this virus hit us, we had only 91 ICU beds reserved. This has increased to 396 ventilator beds as of today, and this we will inshallah increase to 606 by the end of July. In terms of HDU beds, we had only 79 HDU beds. These have increased to 764 HDU beds as of today, and we will inshallah increase them to 1,379 beds by July of 2020. Sir, next slide. Sir, Karachi, we have the largest number of cases. We took special care of Karachi. When we started off, we had only 63 beds on the 1st of April for ICU in Karachi. This has been increased to 306, and inshallah ta'ala, by July, end of July, we'll increase this to 516. In terms of the HDU beds, we have 635 HDU beds as of right now, which is an increase from 62 from the 1st of April, and this will inshallah increase to 1,275 by the end of July 2020. Next slide. So this is a very important slide. Why are we worried? Why are we worried that the federal government, the federal rulers are leading this country towards death? I repeat, sir, the federal government, the PTI government is taking the countries towards death. But if you look at the slide above, Pakistan's infectivity rate is at 21%. There's only Mexico in the entire world which is higher than Pakistan. Our next door neighbor India is at 8% infectivity. Infectivity means the number of positive cases divided by the total number of tests. So the countries which are now opening up, Italy, UK, the United States, if you see they have an infectivity rate of 1%, 2% and 4%. It is very clear that the federal government is not taking the lives of the people of Pakistan seriously. Through the floor of this house, through you, Mr. Speaker, I urge the federal government to take the coronavirus seriously. People's lives are in danger. They are playing with the lives of the people in the garb of looking after daily wages. In fact, they are looking after the industrialists of this country, the capitalists of this country, and the Pakistan People's Party through its chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari will never allow this. Next slide. So this gives you at the moment, why are we worried? Though we have got 396 beds with vents, at the moment we have only 100 beds available on vent. As far as the HDU is concerned, we've got 764 HDU beds, and right now we've got 427 available. But looking at the infection rate, looking at the deaths, today as we speak, we had the highest number of deaths in Pakistan. 136 people lost their lives because of corona. And if the opposition thinks that this is a lie, then they need to get themselves examined, because yes, 136 people died today on corona. That is a fact. That is what the NCOC says, what is the federal government says. So we've taken a number of steps in terms of this. Before I go any forward, I need to appreciate the efforts of the healthcare professionals, including doctors, nurses, paramedics and technicians who provided care to COVID-19 patients by placing their lives at stake. They were our first line of defense. Our healthcare professionals proved that they are defenders of health of the nation. We must also acknowledge the services provided by our law enforcement agencies, the police, the rangers and the armed forces, who put their health and their life at risk to enforce government policies. Acknowledgement is also due to our revenue officials and other government officers and officials. The press and media should also be mentioned for keeping the people informed in these difficult times. I would also like to acknowledge the assistance provided by the World Health Organization, UNICEF, the Aga Khan University, the Sindh Institute of Urology and Transplant, and the Indus Hospital. Sir, I would especially like to thank Dr. Adil Ahmed Rizvi. I went and visited him yesterday for the work that he's putting in. Dr. Abdul Bari Khan of Indus Hospital and Dr. Faisal Mahmood of AKU for their guidance. Sir, I would request, at least my side, they're already on their feet. I'll request my side of the house to please stand up to give a standing ovation to the health professionals, to the law enforcement agencies, to all the people who have worked towards keeping us safe. And I hope that the government will realize they need to protect these health professionals, and instead they are protecting the capitalists, the industrialists. Sir, I would like to talk about the federal government a little too. I would like to appreciate the cooperation received from the federal government in connection with the threat of COVID-19. Although we have not received as much assistance as the people of Sindh deserve, we are grateful for whatever was given. We are grateful, Mr. Speaker, because we realize and appreciate that COVID is not a challenge anyone can tackle alone. While individual isolation is treatment of COVID, administrative isolation is not. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, it seems like the federal government has not grasped the concept of efficacy of teamwork. At a time when our frontline workers in our hospitals needed the most support, they have instead made a bid to take over the running of 3 of our major hospitals. I condemn at this point in time the federal government trying to take over hospitals which the provincial government has upgraded to such an extent that the entire world acknowledges the work done on these hospitals. And I assure you, sir, we will do our best to serve the people of this province and to make sure that these hospitals under the government of Sindh continue to provide the service that we have been doing. So the hospitals they are trying to illegally take control of have been hailed as a success story. The federal government should know that we will not sit idly as they attempt to bring our hospitals down to the level funds that they operate. We had hoped that personal petty agendas would have been ignored at the time of COVID, but sir, we have been disappointed. Sir, before I move on, I'd like to touch upon the other major issue, the other major problem that is now confronting our country, and this is the locust. Sir, agriculture, we are an agrarian economy. Agriculture plays a pivotal role in the country's economy. It contributes 24% to GDP, since contribution to national production is 36%, in rice 29% in sugarcane, 34% in cotton, and 15% in wheat. We are determined to increase agriculture output to make farmers and the provinces prosperous. Unfortunately, we are facing the imminent threat of food insecurity as a direct result of locusts, which not only threaten our crops, but also put our economy at stake. Our farmer-friendly government of Sindh is making untiring efforts to address this. So the locusts had attacked initially last year, and in the month of May and June, when they came to the Nara desert area, I had gone there personally to oversee the problem. The control of locusts is a federal subject. The Plant Protection Department of the federal government has to take care of it. And sir, I would like to just give you a little example which the then Agriculture Minister Nawab Yusuf Talpur had told me. In 90s, when the locusts had attacked the country, the then Agriculture Minister Nawab Yusuf Talpur had called the then Prime Minister Shahid Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto late at night and said that we are facing this problem and we need aircraft. The Prime Minister asked him to come with a summary at 8 a.m. to the Prime Minister's office. The then Agriculture Minister went there, Shahid Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto approved the summary, and within a week, 8 aircraft were rented and they were deployed in Pakistan and they took care of locusts. Unfortunately, this federal government has not taken those serious steps, and a lot needs to be done as far as the locust is concerned. Sir, I will just tell you what the government of Sindh is doing, and if I can see the slide. Sir, we have made Talca level teams. At this point in time, we've got 98 teams working in Sindh. Unfortunately, the federal government has only deployed 6 teams in the desert area. The aircraft is not working. On the 6th of March, we were promised that an aircraft will be given. The 6 aircraft we had demanded, and we were told we will be given. But we are sitting here on the 17th of June, and not a single aircraft has been provided for the locust control in the deserts of Sindh. Sir, we successfully countered locusts last year. Even this year, till now, we've been successful. Yes, there have been damages, but our teams are active. If you see the next slide, you can see that a total of 978 complaints were received, 950 complaints have been addressed, and there are 28 complaints in process. And you can see that in each district of the province, the Agriculture Department is active. We are being helped by the Pak Army, we are being helped by NDMA in this case, but a lot more needs to be done by the federal government. So before I go to the budget details, I would like to touch upon another thing. This time has created a crisis by the federal government. Something that the federal government has created another crisis. Sir, our government has been serving the people of Sindh for the past 12 years. People of the province repose their confidence in us because we believe in democracy, justice and fair play. We have been making sacrifices and investing all our energies in prompting welfare of the people. The founder of Pakistan People's Party, Shahid Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and Shahid Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto sacrificed their life for the sake of democracy and for the rights of the people of this country. Our present leadership is also following in their steps and adhering to the potential vision of the great leaders. While our country is facing grave challenge of COVID-19 and the locust attack, some attempts are being made to raise an issue for revisiting the contents of the 18th Constitutional Amendment passed in 2010. Not only the 18th Amendment is being discussed, shared distribution formula of NFC award is also being questioned. I would reiterate our commitment to stand for the autonomy given to provinces by the 18th Amendment. Since the creation of our beloved country on 14th August 1947, 18th Amendment was an important step in devolving powers from the federal government to the provincial government. Credits of this amendment goes to the leadership of our country. President Asif Ali Zardari led the front and bequeathed the gift of the 18th Amendment to this country. I will miss no words in saying that it is only due to the devolved powers under the 18th Amendment that spearheaded the country in making preventative safety measures in wake of COVID-19. The amendment equipped the provinces to design workable strategies and take practical measures to address the global emergency. In the absence of the devolved powers, the province would have looked to the federal government for instructions, guidance, resources, and possibility of a prompt action would have been little to none. This would have resulted in colossal damage. But with the 18th Amendment to support us, our situation remained under control. The federal government later on joined hands with the provinces in a rearguard action, and we now hope to see the silver lining of the COVID dark cloud soon. But this will only happen if the federal government follows the policy which was adopted by the countries which took care of the lives of the people and did not go after the capitalist approach. There's a talk of reversal of 18th Amendment or a change in the amendment in any form may reduce the powers of the province, which may consequently weaken the federation itself. Eventually, trust deficit may develop between the federation and the federating units. If, God forbid, this happens, it will increase the suffering of the people, and the provincial governments may not be in a position to respond in timely manner to mitigate distress or disappointment. So the leadership of a party considers the 18th Amendment as the only panacea for the development in the country. PPP Chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari said in his address at the Lahore University of Management Sciences earlier this year, and I quote him, "In 2010 we achieved consensus and all democratic parties played a role in the passage of the 18th Amendment. It is the only way forward to ensure rights of the smaller provinces, and we will follow the guidance and the directions of our Chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari." Sir, I will now present the revised estimates for 2019-20 and the budget estimates for 2020-21. The provincial budget option, like other provinces, depends mainly upon federal transfers, and it constitutes 70% of the provincial budget. The government of Sindh set its development and non-development programs and targets based on the commitment made by the federal government. Any shortfall in this regard seriously impacts the performance of the provincial government. I would like you to put on the slide now. Sir, if you look at this, the federal government had wanted to collect 5.5 trillion in 2019-20. The FBR estimates have been revised back to 3.9 trillion. What this has done is that instead of 761 billion, the share that we have promised now is 535 billion. More than 230 billion, almost 230 billion have been reduced from the Sindh share because of the inefficiency of FBR, and they would want to blame this on Corona. Sir, ये कोरोना की वजह से नहीं हुआ. अगर आप जुलाई से लेके और मार्च तक देख ले, तो जुलाई से लेके मार्च तक इनकी डिसमिल परफॉर्मेंस थी, और अगर वही परफॉर्मेंस जारी भी रहती तो 300 या 400 बिलियन और, तो ये 4.2, 4.3 बिलियन से ऊपर नहीं जाते. और अब ये अपनी सारी नाकामियां कोरोना के नाते डाल रहे हैं. इनकी नाकामियां की वजह से सूबों ने सफर किया है, और इनकी नाकामियों की वजह से सूबे नहीं कर सक रहे. सर, अगर आप देख लें अगले साल के लिए, for collection. Sir, I don't think this is a target that they can achieve. In fact, the Federal Finance Advisor in his post-budget press conference has already casted some doubt in them. Based on this, we have been promised 680 billion rupees next year. Sir, I'll tell you why I think that these numbers are not achievable. Sir, if you look at this slide, you will get an idea. So in 2017-18, the GDP growth was at 5.8%. The revised and the actual was 5.2%. So last year, the first year of the PTI government, the GDP growth was estimated at 6.2%. Exactly a year ago, the federal government presented the economic survey for 2018-19, and they said the growth would be 3.3%. Instead, the growth was only 1.9%. This was the dismal performance of the first year of the PTI government when there was no corona threat, there was no emergency in the country, there were no floods which the People's Party government had countered, and despite a very good normal year, they failed miserably to achieve the growth target. In the current year, they had set the growth targets at 4%. They, about 2 weeks ago, presented in the NEC कि growth हमारी -0.4% होगी, लेकिन मैंने उस मीटिंग में उन्हें कहा कि जी वर्ल्ड बैंक -2.6% पिच कर रही है आपकी ग्रोथ इस करंट साल में, आप ये गलत नंबर क्यों दे रहे हैं जो बाद में आपको दुरुस्त करने पड़े, लेकिन सिर्फ अपनी अच्छा चेहरा दिखाने के लिए जो कि नहीं है, उन्होंने ये गलत नंबर्स दिए हैं. अगले साल के लिए भी they are projecting 2.1%. I find it very difficult that they will be able to grow the economy at 2.1%. And in fact, the World Bank has predicted that the next year, 2020-21, the economy will grow at negative 0.2%. But unfortunately, we have to rely on the figures of the federal government. We do not and cannot do our own calculations. And that's why we have to just, adopt these numbers while knowing that these numbers are inherently incorrect. So the total provincial receipts, the total provincial receipts of the financial year 2019-20 were fixed at rupees 288.7 billion. The COVID-19 situation deeply affected the provincial receipts. The actual collection is expected to be about 210 billion, which is only 8% higher than last year's collection of 194.9 billion. Sir, now I'll go to the budget estimates for 2021, if I can have this slide. Sir, next year, our budget has pitched at rupees 1,241 billion, 1,241,125,668,700 rupees. I'll give you the breakdown of this. Next slide, please. So, from this, our current revenue expenditure is expected to 991,389,600. Our current capital expenditure is pitched at 39,191,023,100, and our development expenditure is pitched at rupees 232,943,256,000 rupees. Sir, if I can go to the next slide, please. Sir, I told you about this is our total receipts are going to be 1,098 million, which includes 760 billion, which I believe which is -9% of last year estimate. But I feel that this number will not be achieved, and that is why I'll tell you when we formulated the budget, we have taken care of these failures, inherent failures of the federal government of not collecting the funds. The total revenues for next year, as I told you, 760 billion. Federal receipts, provincial tax receipts of 263 billion. Non-tax receipts of 49.871 billion. And sir, I would like to mention here, in the non-tax receipts, we have included rupees 25 billion which have been deposited in the Supreme Court for the land which was was taken by the government of Sindh, and this money has been deposited by the company which had got the land, and we are in the Supreme Court, and inshallah ta'ala, as the Supreme Court had earlier said, this money belongs to the people of Sindh, and we accounted that, and rupees 25 billion is included that. Current revenue received for next year are estimated at rupees 25 billion next one. सर ये मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूँ कि 413 अरब रुपए हमारे एम्प्लॉय रिलेटेड एक्सपेंस है। हमारा जो एम्प्लॉय रिलेटेड एक्सपेंस है इस साल मुश्किल में होने के बावजूद आज काबीना ने फैसला किया है, पूरे पाकिस्तान में हमें अपने लोगों का ख्याल पहले रखना चाहिए। हम क्या सिग्नल्स देंगे अगर हम इन्फ्लेटेड एडजस्टेड तनख्वाहें नहीं बढ़ाएंगे? हम प्राइवेट सेक्टर को भी ये मैसेज देंगे कि आप तनख्वाहें ना बढ़ाएं। इस वक्त हमने कानून पास किया है कि आप किसी को निकाल नहीं सकते, और इस वजह से मैं ये ऐवान को बताना चाहता हूँ कि काबीना की मंजूरी के बाद ग्रेड 1 से 16 तक के मुलाजिमीन की तनख्वाह 10% बढ़ाई गई है, और ग्रेड 17 से 22 की 5% बढ़ाई गई है। और ये जरूरी है, जैसे मैंने कहा, कि हम क्या सिग्नल्स देते हैं प्राइवेट सेक्टर को। अगर हम तनख्वाहें नहीं बढ़ाते तो हम प्राइवेट सेक्टर से कैसे एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं? और मैं चाहता था कि वफाकी हुकूमत भी ये करे और अपने लोगों का ख्याल रखे। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड सर। डेवलपमेंट के लिए हमने प्रोविंशियल बजट में 170 अरब रुपए रखे, और आगे जाके मैं इसकी मजीद डिटेल आपको बताऊंगा। सर, कीपिंग इन व्यू above non-development and developing priorities and major milestones or objectives as under. So we are going to exercise maximum austerity measures in our non-development expenditure. So we will provide maximum to the health sector. So we will enlarge substantially our social protection net through increased cash transfers to poverty-inflicted people. और सर इसकी कुछ मैं आपको डिटेल्स बताऊंगा। Sir, we provide ways and means for employment generation as well as sustaining economic activity of the poorest of the poor in rural as well as urban areas, and we have a scheme for that, sir. उसके लिए